Welcome back to my talk show called From Algae to Angiosperms Live. This is your ultimate field guide to plant evolution here within University Highlands today and on App State's campus. Before we start with land plants though, we have to look at green algae. Green algae are typically unicellular and they use flagellated gametes, which means they need water to reproduce. They're considered the evolutionary forerunners to land plants, but that's interesting because their cells will actually dry out if they're outside of water for too long. Anyways, today we're going to see how plants evolved from the simple aquatic ancestor into the complex land plants we see all around us today. And the rest of the video we'll be exploring outside to break down the four major plant groups that we are living in. Alright guys, we are here with our first evolutionary group of land plants called bryophytes. This example next to me on this tree are groups of mosses. You can find them also growing on rocks, and they like damp, shaded areas typically. They're some of the simplest land plants as they don't have a vascular tissue and they stay pretty small, but they do have important adaptations like rhizoids for anchoring, waxy cuticle to reduce water loss, and protective structures for their embryos. Even though they're simple, they were early pioneers on our land. A close-up of that moss and me, your talk show host, with the moss. You can see here there's a bunch of groups of the mosses, but they're a little staggered, and you can kind of see how they're anchored down, which the rhizoids help them do. Next up on App State's campus, we have our second plant group, which is pteridophytes. This is an example of a fern, which is more advanced because it has vascular tissue, which allows it to grow taller and transport water and nutrients. Ferns also have true roots, stems, and leaves, and a stronger cuticle. These are just some examples of adaptations, but they still need water for reproduction because their sperm must swim to the egg. Here is me, your host, with this pteridophyte. Evolutionary step here in Gymnosperms, also known as the pine tree, are seeds and pollen. Seeds protect the embryo and provide food, while the pollen allows reproduction to occur without needing water. These trees also have wood. So, this is the wood which lets them grow tall and compete for sunlight. These seeds are not enclosed in fruit, which is why they're called naked seeds. Here is a close-up of the naked seeds, and then me, your host again, with the gymnosperm. Guys, to show our final example of plant evolution, we have this dogwood tree right here, which has our angiosperms, which are also known as flowers. These flowers behind me are the most advanced land plants. They have many different adaptations, and some of those include producing flowers to attract pollinators like bees, and not necessarily this plant, but some other angiosperms that you may see around produce fruits to protect and spread seeds. Another adaptation is that they undergo double fertilization to provide extra nutrients for the developing embryos. These adaptations make reproduction highly efficient. Here in the middle, we can see where the pollen on this angiosperm will be produced for bees to land on and pollinate. Here's a close-up of that angiosperm, and then me, your host, with the flowers. So overall, plant evolution shows a clear progression from algae that need water to survive, to mosses, to ferns, seed plants, and finally flowering plants that use animals for reproduction. This episode of Algae to Angiosperms Live. I'm your talk host, Addison O'Reilly, and I really enjoyed showing y'all around University Highlands and App State's campus, showing the evolution of the four major plant groups, starting with green algae. Hope y'all enjoyed.